I was driving along the highway late at night. Midnight was close when my engine coughed and the dashboard lights flickered. I had no choice but to pull over. I popped the hood, stared into the machinery, but couldn't make sense of it. When I tried my phone, there was no signal. That's when I saw a weathered sign pointing toward a small town nearby. With no other option, I decided to walk. The road looked straight on the map, but in reality it was narrow, winding, and pitch black. Most of the streetlights were dead, leaving only a few to flicker dimly ahead. My footsteps echoed off the cracked stones beneath me. I wanted to turn back, but necessity and curiosity pulled me forward. The silence deepened with every step, pressing down on me. At the town's entrance, a row of houses stood in ruins. Doors sagged from their hinges, windows were smashed, roofs had caved in. Mold crept up cracked walls, and the wind sighed through the empty alleys like a whisper. A voice inside my head urged, "Leave now," but I kept walking. The first building I reached was an old grocery. Its windows were blackened, the sign half torn. I pushed the door. It groaned as it opened. A wave of damp, stale air hit me. Shelves were lined with dusty jars, broken glass, and moldy boxes. The floorboards moaned under my weight, each creak amplifying the tension in my chest. I stopped to catch my breath. The silence was suffocating. I could hear my pulse in my ears. Out of the corner of my eye, something shifted. A shadow glided between the shelves. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, but it was still there. My body froze. "I'm tired, that's all it is," I whispered. But fear had already taken root. I stumbled back outside into the main street. Moonlight spilled faintly on cobblestones and shards of broken glass. The air felt heavy, unnatural. Abandoned cars sat rusting along the roadside. Some flipped on their sides, steering wheels snapped. Their emptiness suggested owners who had vanished without a trace. Then, from the corner of my eye, a door creaked open. A house nearby yawned into the night. My heartbeat spiked. There was no wind yet, the door had moved. I walked faster, trying not to look back, until the door slammed shut behind me. Silence fell like a weight on my shoulders. I muttered to myself, "It's just the wind." Old wood, nothing more. But the cracks in the walls, the strange marks carved into stone, they whispered otherwise. My throat went dry. Each step forward dragged as if the ground resisted me. I turned into a narrow street. That's when I saw it, a face behind a window. Its eyes were vacant, its expression hollow, locked onto me. A shiver rippled down my spine, my breath catching. I forced myself to keep walking, but the gaze clung to me. Farther ahead, another doorway stood ajar. Inside, a dim room appeared. A table in the center, a chair pushed slightly back, as if someone had only just risen. No sound, no movement. I held my breath, tiptoeing past as though the floor itself might betray me. At last I reached the town square. A dry fountain sat at its heart, surrounded by decayed benches. The wind's moan grew louder here, circling me like a warning. I paused, inhaling sharply to calm myself. Then I looked up. From across the square, a face stared from a window. Blank eyes, empty skin. I stumbled backward, the crunch of stones beneath me unnervingly loud. I had to leave. I retraced my steps, heading toward the highway. But as I passed, window after window revealed more eyes fixed on me. Some faded like smoke, others stayed, unblinking. My vision blurred with panic. When I reached my car, relief flooded me. My hands shook as I shoved the key into the ignition. The engine roared alive, but when I looked through the windshield, the windows were still crowded with faces, watching, waiting. Leaning forward, sweat dripping from my brow, I gripped the wheel. Then took a noise from the back seat. My head whipped around, empty. Yet on the leather seat was a shallow impression, as though someone had just been sitting there. My chest tightened, my pulse raced uncontrollably. I turned the headlights on. Pale beams cut across the town's stone streets, and there on the sidewalk a figure. A dark silhouette, motionless, watching me. No features, no eyes I could see, just presence. I pressed the accelerator. tires screeched against the stones. In the rearview mirror, the silhouette remained. It didn't move, didn't chase. But all the faces had vanished. Only that lone figure remained. Finally, I reached the edge of town. The sign loomed up again, marking its border. Just then the engine coughed violently, like it wanted me to stop, to turn back. I pushed harder on the pedal, forcing the car forward. The dark forest road swallowed me, but when I glanced in the mirror, the outline of the town was still there on the horizon, as though it hadn't receded at all, as if I hadn't left. The road grew narrower, the silence heavier. My grip on the wheel turned white. I wanted to believe I was alone again, but deep down I knew those hollow faces, that figured they hadn't stayed behind. They were with me.